Welcome everybody from AWE Nite Florence, coming to you live from Rome, where we are guests of the VRE Fest. Here with me is VRE Fest organizer Mariangela Matarazzo, and joining remotely from Turin is my co-host Anthony Vitillo. Hi Anthony.
Hello everyone.
We are excited to welcome our speaker ORI INBAR from New York. Hi Ori.
Ciao everybody.
And Luis CACCIUTTOLO from Paris. Hi, Luis.
Hello, hi everyone.
It's my pleasure to turn the stage over to Mariangela Matarozzo, who since 2019 has been the founder and artistic director of VRE Virtual Reality Experience, which is entirely dedicated to XR. Welcome, Mariangela. Thank you for your invitation. It's a true pleasure to be here with you.
Thank you, Cecilia, and thank you to all of you. Thank you, Anthony. Thank you, Luis. Thank you, Ori. And it's really a great experience. I'm so happy to have you and to host this important talk in my festival. This is the second day of the third edition of VRE, and we are here in the main location in Rome. So the talk is very important. Also, the argument and issues that we are going to talk about are interesting and are very actually and important for all people and all organizations that works in the events, for example, and I think that also for VRE, for my festival, and for all the festival, it's important to discuss about the new way to propose the event. So thanks so much to everybody, and I give you the floor. Thank you. Bye.
And now I'm excited to introduce ORI INBAR, co-founder of AWE, co-founder of Super Ventures, co-founder and CEO of AugmentedReality.org, and organizer of AWE Nite around the world. The title of Ori's speech is "Do we really need to choose between reality and virtuality?" Welcome, Ori. We are so glad to have you here.
Thank you, Cecilia. Hello, friends. Thank you for joining this special edition of AWE Nite Florence on location in Rome. And thank you for the organizers, Cecilia and Tony, for making this happen. And of course, many thanks to Mariangela for hosting us at VRE Fest. I can't express how much I wish I could be there with you in person. Oh my God, what I would give to be in Rome right now. But today, I can only join virtually from New York, while you're having all the fun right there. And that's exactly at the heart of our discussion today. Will we one day be able to do all things virtually? or we will need to be there really in reality. Or perhaps, we won't need to choose one or the other at all. If we've learned one thing or something from nearly 2 years of COVID-19, is that yes, we can do so much more virtually than we all imagined, but there are certain things that only work when you are in person. Thanks to the virtual technologies that we're all experiencing, we can connect, we can stay in touch, learn, work, shop, can even travel remotely. But the face-to-face human connection, which by the way has been an integral part of the human nature for 1 million years now, is critical, especially for things like building trust, for experiencing stuff in the real world, like trying out new devices firsthand, or getting a good hug. And of course, for serendipitous discovery. When you meet people or learn new things accidentally, by chance, just as you roam around the real world. It's really hard to accomplish these things online. And of course, AR and VR or XR technologies as a whole are promising to extend things that we can do virtually. And it can make these experiences feel more like we are really together in the same room with shared presence. But will it one day replace the need to be in reality altogether? As someone who has been championing XR for the past 15 years, as a founder of an XR startup, as an XR ecosystem builder and co-founder of the AWE community, as an investor and mentor to hundreds of startups and advisor to corporations and funds, and of course, as a collector of XR memorabilia, as you can see behind me, you'd guess that I'd be bullish about the capabilities of XR to connect us virtually. And you'd be guessing right, of course. Just look at the explosion that we're seeing in the XR space. Social platforms like VR chat and AltSpace, immersive music shows and sport events that you can stream into your home. XR collaboration platforms like Spatial, Engage, Verbella, VRrOOm, as well as hundreds of new ones that are popping up every day. Shopping with AR or virtual try-on applications where you can see how things will look on your person or in your home before you buy them, all from the comfort of your home. Remote assistance and guidance from the control room to the operating room at enterprises. And how about virtual training, one of the fastest growing sectors that are becoming a must in many enterprises, in hospitals, for emergency response teams. And finally, playing, and socializing in virtual worlds. And of course, fitness, Tony. Many of these solutions have demonstrated growth of over 1,000% in the past year and a half. The interest in these tools and apps is blowing up, and they can barely keep up. Their virtual phones are ringing off the hook. And because of the intense use of these platforms, they're also getting better so much faster than ever before. For the past 15 years, I've had the opportunity to deliver speeches and keynotes in large conferences and in AR meetups. By the way, the first AR meetup that I started in 2009 just clocked 123 AR meetups to date. But in the last 2 years, I've been really missing this connection with audiences, the energy you feel when you get immediate feedback from real people in the real room. But then something really interesting happened that surprised me. A few weeks ago, I had a chance to speak at a meetup in spatial.io via my VR headset. The ONITE San Francisco team set up a really cool space with a gallery-like view of the history of AWE and the XR industry. And then, as I was walking around the space and telling my story, I was pointing my hands, at images on the walls and having eye contact with the people around the room. Well, okay, to be honest, they were pretty creepy avatars, but still the spatial experience, the fact that I was actually walking and waving my hands. And I could even identify people in the crowd who were asking questions thanks to spatial sound. For the first time in 2 years, I felt the rush of speaking in front of an audience. It was very cool. You actually had to be there to feel it. So these virtual tools are awesome. And by the way, it's great for businesses, both XR companies and those who are discovering its benefits and adopting it. If you think about it, XR is transforming the livelihood of businesses. And we see companies transitioning from surviving the pandemic to thriving with XR. Our industry holds the most exciting promise to change the world. In fact, I predict that by 2030, XR will be a $1 trillion industry where over 3.5 billion people will be actively using it every day around the world to better their lives and work. So it's so awesome. One day, will we be able to spend all our time in the metaverse and never go out into the real world? I don't believe that. You may have heard me say metaverse, schmetaverse. I think for most of us in XR, that future sounds too dystopian. And many of us are working hard toward the future that is brighter, I guess, with more sunlight. By the way, can we stop debating what's the metaverse and what's not? In my mind, it's simply when the internet becomes spatial, when all digital information looks, feels, and behaves like in the real world. Well, maybe a bit crazier, but just like Ivan Sutherland, the inventor of spatial computing back in 1968 described it, you move your head around a 3D object and the object moves like it would in real life. So with that simple definition, does it make sense to ask what's better, the internet, the spatial internet, or real life? And do we really want to choose? If I have to sum up the answer in 3 words, it's no, no, and no. We want both. Let's repeat after me. We want both. That's the thing, we can't hear you in the room. And the cool thing about augmented reality is that it can bridge the gap between reality and virtuality. It can make the transition feel more seamless, more human, more effective, and more fun. When you think about it, we're all on the spectrum. Sometimes we want to escape. We want to go on an imaginary world or teleport to a distant place. That will be on one end of the spectrum. And sometimes we want to disconnect from the virtual world and connect with real people, real things. We want to appreciate the world as humans have appreciated it for the past million years. And that's the other end of the spectrum. The power of VR is to allow us to be anywhere we wish on that spectrum. With AR, let's say you're in Rome, you can go grab the best espresso in the world at the Tazza d'Oro and go sit in front of the beautiful Trevi fountain, while at the same time, see avatars of your friends and colleagues, hopefully not too uncanny, sitting right next to you and having a good conversation. Though, of course, they won't be able to enjoy the same espresso quality. Perhaps we could share a 360 video on the ceiling of the Pantheon. And we definitely want to see the Colosseum in its original glory, along with gladiator battles and Nero Caesar orchestrating the whole thing. I think that's a more utopian future we can all stand behind, right? I have to say that Rome was an inspiration for me early on in my pursuit of the ultimate AR experience. 15 years ago, I traveled to Rome and visited the Forum Romano. That's when I had the epiphany. I got a super clear vision of the potential of AR. They were selling booklets with the Foro Romano ruins. Yes, they were still selling books back then because apps were not a thing yet. And these booklets had photos of the forum as they look today. And you could flip a transparent page on and off over these photos to see a perfect overlay of how it looked 2000 years ago. It was genius analog AR. And right there, I was completely sold on AR. Since then, I was hooked. AR is like a slider that helps us gradually move from one end of the spectrum all the way to the other end. And until this vision is completely realized, we'll probably have to continue to shift between reality and virtuality. Speaking of reality and virtuality, let's talk about AWE. In less than 4 weeks, our community will meet in California for the great XR reunion, the first time in 2 years. And it will be awesome, even though we'll have to wear masks. We'll hear inspirational talks from over 300 speakers, including top executives from tech giants, XR unicorns, great startups, and the biggest brands adopting XR. We'll have nearly 200 exhibitors, new product launches, and demos that I really can't wait to try firsthand. And as always, we'll have fun and playful experiences in the AWE playground. The Startup to Watch competition is also a very highly anticipated event. And of course, the Augie Awards ceremony, where 20 exceptional teams will go home with the most coveted trophy in the XR world. But above all, it will be about networking, and more networking. Hanging out for 3 days with thousands of old and new friends. That sounds so sweet. But why stop there? Why enjoy it for just these 3 days? That's why I'm super excited to launch this week AWE Live. AWE.live is a new, always-on platform for the XR community to learn, connect, and grow XR businesses 365 days a year. The platform will host events throughout the year and will use smart matchmaking to help connect people. Corporate buyers with solution providers, brands will be able to meet creators and developers, startup will be able to pitch to investors, job seekers will meet hiring managers in XR, and much, much more. It's an attempt to extend the benefits we typically get from those 3 wonderful days in California to the entire year. But we won't need to wait a whole year to meet again in person. As of today, the AWE community is already running on-night meetups like ORI Nite Florence in 25 cities around the world. In 2021, we had over 50 of these meetups, mostly online, but many of them are starting to transition to in-person meetups. And next year, we'll meet again in person at AWE Europe, at AWE Asia, and again at AWE USA 2022. And that will continue on and on and on until every person on Earth reaps the benefits of XR to improve their lives and work. So the simple answer to the question I posed in my talk title is the following. The XR community, and hopefully other smart communities will follow, will constantly shift between meeting in real life to meeting virtually, back and forth throughout the year, and allow us to build trust, get a good hug, try out new devices firsthand, and benefit from the energy and serendipitous discovery only possible when meeting in person. And we'll also be able to continue to maintain these relationships online, continue to buy and sell XR goods 365 days a year, every year. Again, until every single person on Earth can benefit from spatial computing as it takes over the world. Marco Giberti, an Italian expat and the author of the book Reinventing Live, the always-on future of events, call this phenomenon offline, online, offline, or OOO. And it means that, it's not one or the other. You don't have to choose. It's one and the other, one following the other in an endless cycle. And that's very cool. To rephrase it in my own XR terms, it's about living on the spectrum between reality and virtuality. So again, why choose between reality and virtuality when we can get the best of both worlds? From now on, we'll see each other in person at AWE in different countries on certain days, and we'll see each other in AWE.live online during the other days of the year. We'll be living on the spectrum, and it will be awesome. Cool? Thanks very much.
Thank you, Ari. We will be back with you for the debate later. And now it's my turn. My name is CECILIA Lascialfari, co-founder of area6talks.com, creative technologist, aspiring journalist, and organizer of AWE Nite Florence event. My speech today is entitled Summary of the Experience in the Organization of AWE Nite Florence. In 2019, I took part in AWE Europe in Monaco as a correspondent for a small Italian newspaper in Tuscany. I had the pleasure of interviewing ORI INBAR and witnessing the great organization of AWE. I was really fascinated by it, and I thought that this opportunity should be offered to all people who work in the field of new technologies in Italy. For that reason, I decided to start as a journalist. Then COVID came and stuck us at home. COVID has given a significant change to the technology sector, putting the world in front of the choice of evolving or declining. At a time when the world had no answer for us, great solidarity was born between people. Traditional media gave us no hope for the future, while the digital, together with the virtual, created a way to move the world forward. Groups of professionals started working together, transforming live events into digital and virtual events. VR took on a new role quickly in order to let masses of people with little digital equipment enter the virtual world and give them the illusion of living a normal life together with a hope for the future. Events such as Lava Virtual World, AWE USA, VRRE, Dimension XR, VR Days, Venice VR, Virtuality, Stereopsia, Cannes XR, more, ISMAR, SXSW, VRE Fest, Jean-Michel Jarre events have created new reality, giving the whole world the possibility of meeting by creating virtual connection. When I saw my first virtual fireworks at the end of the digital event, dressed up as an avatar, I was so excited that I filmed them with my mobile by the computer screen. COVID has taken away many things and people, but on the other hand, it also gave us new chances. AWE Nite Florence was born from that experience, thanks to many professionals in the XR sector who made available their knowledge. So, how do you ensure a strong online event? I thought about 10 useful guidelines. 1. Decide which topic to cover, which is the current trend topic. 2. Decide who will be the speaker connected to the topic, when and how to contact them. 3. Determine when to bring the speakers together in a single communication. 4. Be able to get the information and share materials by the speakers before the event. 5. Create eye-catching graphics that have a link to the place and the topic of the event. 6. Create a social media communication material which has clear and direct information and a social communication plan without being redundant for web users. 7. Make a distilled events program to share with the speakers about the deadlines to be respected and a timetable. 8. Highlight the link to register to take part in the event during all social media communication. Don't start social communication too early. 1-2 weeks prior is sufficient. Too far in advance and your participants won't engage. Too close to the event and their calendar may be full already. 10. Decide on a title which must be clear, simple, not too long, without limiting the speaker's speech. And finally, be ready for anything during the live broadcast. Zoom bombing, loss of connection by a speaker, speakers who take the initiative to move from their place to another during the conference, slides or video that don't work properly, speakers who decide to start a debate in the middle of their speech involving other panelists. These are some of the information you need to create a good online event. But if we dig deeper, we can find many others. You can plan as much as possible about how the event must be, but in the end, there will always be something unexpected you have to deal with. To realize a good online event, you need to be a good improviser. And luckily, Anthony Vitillo is here with me, a great friend, a great colleague, and a great problem solver. It's my pleasure now to hand the meeting over to Anthony. Welcome, Anthony.
Hello, Cecilia, or ciao, Cecilia, since you are in Italy. So thanks for your amazing speech or your experience with these digital events, AWE Nite Florence. And it's also amazing that I want to underline this again. Today we're doing something new, like part physical event at VRE in Rome and part digital. So one point I probably should also add is always try to do always something new, like we're doing today. That's amazing. So today I just want to, in my speech, just to give some pieces of advice on organizing VR events. So it's not a secret that together with Louis, that is in this event as well, it's like 2 years now that we organize events in virtual reality. And I just want to give some tips, tricks, something from my experience about how it is organizing them, how to do it in a better way. So the first thing to consider, I think, when you're organizing VR events, people think that it's like something special, something different from real events. Actually, they have many things in common. So as Cecilia said, you have to find who are the guests, who is the team that is organizing it, perform the marketing, doing the ticketing, if there's a paid event, find sponsors, define a budget, handle all the logistics. And this is more or less what people that organize events, physical events, has always done. All kind of VR events, usually, unless they're very little, require this stage. And in fact, I remember some time ago reading a post-mortem about those big, like, VR education, 24-hour events. And they told about the organization. It was all about Excel files, people that already worked in real events, working on it night and days to handle also the time zones of the speakers. So lots of things are very similar, and you may require people with similar skills. And then it comes to like the biggest of all problems is where to host this event. Because there are so many platforms, every day new VR platforms, multiplayer platforms are coming to life, and you are wondering which is the right one for your event. Because every kind of platform has different pros and cons. Some of them have a better graphics, for instance. So if you want to perform something cool like we did with Louis, the concert of Jean-Michel Jarre, you can't do it in a platform like, Facebook Horizon with super simple graphics will sound pretty weird. But the number of users and how it is popular instead can be interesting to have more people attending your event. And in this case, having a platform like Horizon that launch for sure have many people interested in it can be a good choice instead. So there's not like a simple answer like this platform is better than the others. There are some that are better in creating a community, some that runs on Quest, others not, some that runs on Mac and others not, etc., etc. Also, it's important to understand how many users you want in your event, because we had some requests in the past, people that always want 100, 1,000 people in the same room, while actually most of the platforms now can only handle like 50. There are some that can handle 1,000, but have other problems. So it's all a matter of finding compromises about what you want for your event, understanding what the customer needs or what the artist needs in case it is a performance, and choosing the right one. And it's not easy because, as I said, there are many. Just to make some examples, we do most of our work in VRChat because it lets us create very customizable, very customized, and also very customized words that run on many platforms. And it is a very popular platform, so many users are on it. But for instance, you're limited to 40 users per room, and some part of the community is a bit toxic, so it can be a problem. Engage is instead very good for organizing workshops or like work-related events, like HTC is organized at the launch of Byflow yesterday inside Engage, and is amazing for this kind of events. Mozilla Hubs is open source, is completely open. You can join by just having a link. It runs on all platforms you can think about. Maximum you can have 20 people together, and the graphical is very, so and so. So there are all these tools, and here I also talk about Neos, that is a very interesting platform made by like a genius and few people that are able to compete with companies like AltSpace that is backed by Microsoft. So everyone has a different pros and cons. And also the hardware can be something to consider because maybe you want to host something with a super cool graphics for an artistic performance, and the person wants also this to run on Quest because the Quest is the most popular platform now. But the problem is that Quest has very limited power. So maybe you have to make a compromise. Either you compromise the graphical outcome and you go on Quest, or you compromise the number of users and just take the event PC only. So even here is a matter of compromises. So compromises in VR is now what we are all used to in this moment. So even events are not an exception. When you have everything, of course, you have also to create a team to work on it. So to get a VR event, you have to know people that can do 3D assets, 3D animations, that people handle the marketing, people that can make the interaction, the code, so techies like me, people that can manage the project, and everything you may need, for instance, to create a little game can be something that you may need to create a VR event. And then you're ready to work on it. But actually, what is important is that most probably you will have also to work with people that are not used to VR. So maybe they come from the traditional events, they work on real concepts. It's happened to us for the Jean-Michel Jarre concept. We had a scenographer that was used to work in real life, and he was a bit worried about working in VR. We had to help him in the beginning to get used to the tools. We were working on Unity. And so it was a matter of helping each other and especially trying to make people new to this field to get used to the tools they have to work on. Another thing that is very important is to think about the possible audience, because for instance, if you have a private event, it can be much safer to work on it because you know there may be people that are in your network that have paid a ticket, and so it's difficult that you have trolls. If it is a public event, most probably there will be trolls somehow, and in some cases you can even do nothing about it. So you have also to take in mind what kind of event it is, how the troll can impact the event or not. if there is a way on the platform you have chosen to kick out people that are creating harassing other users, and this can be important, you know, serious events. Imagine if you're launching a new product and someone starts going on the stage, waving and screaming, and something like this has happened to me in some kind of events where I was the speaker, and it's always annoying. So you have to consider also this in the choice of your platform. And also another thing that is important, in my opinion, is, you know, in case you know that some people can be new to VR events, have some kind of hosts or concierge operators that can welcome the users. So here I don't have the time to tell you all the things you can do while designing your event. What I recommend everyone is to have a long design stage, because otherwise you just start working on the event without doing sketches, without making tests, providing an architecture, mood boards, etc. Is that you just create a big mess. You start doing something at the middle of the process, you understand it's wrong, the customer says that it's not what I was expecting, blah, blah, blah. So do take some time to have a big design stage. Like with whatever, as I said, whatever VR application, VR game, events are no exception. Unless they're a very little thing, and so you already know what you're doing, it's very important to have a good result, like this is from Venice Fair Expander last year, to have a good design stage, take some time to make experiments, agree with the customer on a design, and then have your event. And also consider that in VR, things are different from real life. So this is one of the last tips that I give to you. This is for our game Hit Motion Reloaded. It was, you know, that we're working on a boxing game. And it was the design of one of the first designs of the possible enemies. And you can see that it's very cool in this video. We were all watching it in 2D, but when we tried it for the game in VR, we had to punch it. We noticed that our brain thought that you were punching like something made of glass and steel. I say, no, you're crazy. I'm not going to punch it because it looks so cool on paper, but when in VR, it was the worst choice possible. So we had to change it. And this is true for whatever you do in VR. So consider how it can appear inside in virtual reality as it is in real life. And the last advice that I give to you, that is what we at VRrOOm are very proud of doing in our events, is try to surprise your users with interactions, with things that we can interact together, with mini games, Easter eggs, because even the most serious of the events, we notice that people anyway want to have fun, want to try fancy avatars, want to speak, want to play games. And VR is good for the interactions. Otherwise, you know, if you just look around, you can watch a 360 video. And we noticed that this is something that can really make your event better. And I think we are also pretty good at it. And I leave you with this final advice is really try to always surprise your users, because they will appreciate having fun in your VR world. So there are many pieces of advice. I have also others, but maybe we can talk in another event. And also another cool people that can talk on it is Lui CACCIUTTOLO, that I have the pleasure to work with since 2 years. He is the founder and CEO of VRrOOm and responsible for its sales and strategic partnership, but actually he does also a lot more than this. He is going to talk about VR events with this speech that is called Democratizing Social VR Events for Organizers to Users, Overcoming the Barriers to Adoption. So, Louis, I'll give you the microphone. It's your turn.
Thank you, Tony, and thank you for what you just said. It's been, yes, quite a ride with you already, like a few years. And time goes very, very fast, but it's always a pleasure because every time it's a new adventure. So I don't know if everyone can see my screen. Yes. So yeah, now I will talk about like Tony just talked, and Ori and Cecilia that just talked about building VR events, so, I mean, some advices, you know, and why these VR events are very, very important. And to me, social XR has always been something that is very dear to me, because I'm coming from actually the live performance world, as I used to own a theater a physical theater in southern France for like 2 decades. And although I was managing it like from like a distance, because it was a very difficult enterprise, and I needed to earn money to entertain this dream. But it has always been very dear to my heart. What is dear to my heart is to, through music, through live performances, theater, dance, etc., to really allow people to share moments together. And this is what makes us human, I guess. And when I was working in San Francisco, like in 2015, 2016, I mean, even before, but and then in 2016, there was this huge, massive arrival of new headsets, the PSVR, the HTC Vive, the first Rift. And to me, it was like a revelation. I was thinking, okay, all that, now everything will be possible. There will be no limitation to what we can do to allow people to share these moments together. And VR and AR, actually social VR, social AR will allow this thing to happen. Imagine I had a very small theater before, and I was like literally struggling every day because I had only like 200 people that could go into this theater for one specific event at one time. And production cost a lot of money, and there were limited people, a number of people that I could cater to. And it was very frustrating, basically. And with VR, I was thinking, okay, now everything will be shareable, everything will be accessible from everywhere. And this is really a dream come true. So to me, it was evident. But for a lot of other people, it was not really so, it really didn't always make so much sense. So, so what is social XR? Of course, we know, the people who are here know, but this is the first thing that I had to struggle with when I started to try to implement this vision of sharing moments together inside virtual reality, is to explain what social XR was. And it's very difficult. I mean, every time, and this is the major like friction point when you want to evangelize and to democratize the use of social XR, is to explain people what it is. And not only explain it what it is, because VR cannot be explained, basically. It has to be lived. So the main issue is to get the people who you're talking to actually don a VR headset and do it themselves. Because until they have done it, they absolutely have no clue what you're talking about. And there is no way, even if they're very smart, that they can really understand to the fullest what your vision is. So my first piece of advice, if you want to do VR events, like for example, there are so many super cool events in the world. And to me, I profoundly believe that VR events should not be, I mean, we could have like separated VR events that are independent and that don't have to be linked to physical events. But to me, the real beauty is when virtual reality meets the real world. And this is because it makes everything so much more powerful, and bridging the gap between the physical and the virtual is actually very, very awesome. This is something that we learned to do with Jean-Michel Jarre, and this is something that really is unmatchable. And so first, if you have something in mind, a project in mind, and you need either sponsors, or you need like people, or you want to bring an event to life in virtual reality, although it has already a physical edition, etc., talking with these people who are potentially your sponsors, your clients, your collaborators, the first thing is to explain what social XR is, and the best way to explain is just to take them there, because otherwise they will not understand. And so what we do, and thanks to Tony in particular, but to the awesome team who is working with us in Turin or in Moscow, we deliver these virtual events. So now we have been blessed because we have like a lot of like great credentials that we can show the world, with great artists and with great festivals trusting us, delivering their event. And this is also something that is very, very useful to help evangelize and democratize, because people, the first one is always the most difficult. once you've done one, then you will do the second. Once you do the second, you will do the third, etc. And actually right now, and that's what Tony was discussing right before this, the Zoom started, we are totally overwhelmed with the number of projects we have right now. And it's a good thing, but at the same time, it shows that there is attraction, but still, again and again, we meet the same challenges. So what are the challenges? So the challenges is first the target market. Who are we talking to? I mean, depending if you're talking to a music festival, to a dancer who wants to have a dance show, or to for example, a brand who wants to have a virtual event, you will not. And this is what Tony just explained. You will have to choose which platform you use, and you will have to explain why you choose this platform. And this is already very confusing for people who are not used to VR and to social events, to understand that there are differences between the platforms that you propose them. And frankly speaking, you don't have time to bring everyone to every platform so that they can make up their mind. So you have to be very convincing, and you also have to be very knowledgeable about the platforms that you will propose them. And you need to be very sure about this is the best platform for this particular type of event. So that's the first one. And then there are some principles. I've met and I've been confronted many times during the
return rates have lowered by 40%.
We started to build virtual events, especially when they're based on physical events. The big challenge is to persuade everyone that a virtual event makes sense. Some people hate the idea of virtuality because they are so used to the physical thing. And especially if they haven't had the experience themselves to participate events in virtuality, they cannot really understand that the interaction between people is as smooth in virtual reality as it can be in the physical world. And because they don't understand, they are very reluctant, and sometimes they're very conservative. And you need to overcome these barriers by, again, possibly by taking them there, but really the number of times that we did virtual events for clients or partners who never done the headset before is mind-blowing. And still, until now, we are doing some events. It's not the first time we do these events with these people, and they haven't yet done a VR headset. So you can see the challenge, you know, and also they are afraid that for their reputation, that the fact of going virtual will be like losing a piece of their integrity in a way, or their ethics, and it's extremely challenging to just explain that no, VR is not a dirty word. No, virtual reality is not something dystopian, as Ori mentioned before. It can be utopian. So that's the second big challenge. The third challenge is the ROI, obviously. And ROI is absolutely key to everything we do, everything we all do around this Zoom conversation. We need to earn money. And our partners need to earn money, because otherwise we can't survive. If we can't survive, we can't do anything. So the dream is dead. So that's a huge challenge, because virtual reality, especially after overcoming all these barriers, people say, okay, I can try. Now you convinced me, I can try to do that, but really I don't want to spend much budget on it. And then, because it's a test, you know, it's the first time I do it, I don't want to invest everything. I want to still have, you know, so it's so complicated. And sometimes I know my team, you know, and the people who are working with me, they're super frustrated because of the small budget. But we are really like, every penny we get from these people is literally like a miracle, because they're, especially in Europe, I guess maybe in the United States, it's probably slightly better because the industry is a little bit more popular, but I'm not even sure, because everything, it's a difficult world. So we need to show and to tell them that yes, this is worth their money. And this is exactly what we did, you know, for for the Jean-Michel Jarre last concert, when we convinced the city of Paris government to give us some money to do the Notre Dame concert with Jean-Michel Jarre at New Year's Eve, a concert which, thanks to all the huge names we had in this concert, and thanks to the fact that we, the team in Turin and Tony developed an array of like virtual cameras that could go do live editing, you know, for live broadcasts across all media, including TV stations, etc. We broke the world record of the most streamed concert with 75 million people who watched a VR concert across all type of media. And I'm very proud about that. And I think the team can be proud also, but this is also a way to tell people, okay, sometimes virtual productions can also gather a huge audience. And I would say that it would be, we cannot think at this stage of the industry, at this stage of the industry state, we cannot just think in terms of a VR market. We need to think beyond, because if we don't think beyond, especially for social XR events, we won't have these figures, we won't have this traction. So utilizing platforms that allow you to go beyond just the VR headset, to go beyond the PC screen, and to go beyond the social media, like we did for Jean-Michel Jarre, TV channels, radio channels, social media, 360 channels, like 6 DOF channels, etc. We had everything. So this is really an advice that I give to everyone to maximize and optimize. And of course, if you use these channels, try to get money from them. Like we could see during the COVID crisis that Dua Lipa, for example, she did an online concert of 1 hour, which gathered like 5 million people paying £10 to just watch 1 hour concert online. And this is 50 million pounds of revenue for a 1 hour concert. So this is absolutely mind blowing. So we can monetize. There is no way we cannot monetize. Of course, you need to find the cool, you know, partners to be able to monetize better. But even for smaller artists or for smaller partners who have a decent, you know, following crowd, it's all possible. And VR production is not that costly anyways. And then, of course, the last constraint is the technical constraints. We had, for some events, we had to overcome technical constraints because, and it was the platforms that were bugging. It was not us. It was really like some things that are beyond our control. And this is also what makes it difficult to sell these VR events, because people, your clients, your partners will be a little bit afraid. What if it crashes? What if on D-Day, you know, nothing works? And this is such a risk. And we can understand why they're so nervous. But this is, I mean, our mission. And this is what we are basically all the barriers we have to overcome. But this is worth it. And it's worth it because we are building this community together. And I can see a lot of names here in this Zoom conversation that I know for following the WhatsApp groups and meeting them in VR, etc., etc. So this is a great community, and I hope that everything we said today is actually helpful for everyone.
Thanks, Louis, for this amazing speech and compliments. Ooh. So now it's time for the bearish debate, because you know the time is almost up, and I want to start by asking you, Louis. So since we work together on this kind of VR events, but now hopefully, you know, the situation we hope can get back to some kind of normal situation. We can have physical events again. And some people started asking me, so will there still be VR events? And so I ask you this question: will there still be VR events? Why yes, why no?
So sorry, what was the question? I couldn't hear you clearly.
The question is, now there can be physical events again. So will there still be VR events in the future, and why?
Yes, absolutely. I think this question was more difficult to answer 1 year ago when we had the first wave of COVID, for example, and some people tried VR events and everybody was waiting for COVID, to go away and to go back to the old habits, etc. And indeed, it was a question that I was asking myself at that point, because I knew that with the COVID, companies like us had opportunities to push new trends and new habits, etc. But the COVID crisis has lasted quite a while, and people have seen the opportunity exactly like what I saw when I absolutely dived into VR like 4.5 years ago. That especially for people who have physical events and handle physical events, that VR can be not a threat to physical events, but definitely can multiply the potential audience and multiply the potential revenue and the ROI they can get from their events. So I'm very confident that now that we have established records, numbers, and data, and a lot of people all around the world have been doing the same. It's not only us. And I think people now understand the benefit of virtual reality events.
Yeah, I totally agree. I would also add from my experience at the school that in VR you can do things like totally impossible in real life, like Jean-Michel Jarre inside Notre Dame, something that could never happen in real life. So it's something that all these things together make me believe also to myself that VR events are going to stay, maybe also becoming something more hybrid. Ori, instead, I want to ask you something, because you are the founder of AWE. That's kind of a big association that is everywhere in the world. And I wanted to ask you, so when there is an event that is organized inside AWE, there is some difference about the parts of the world you're organizing in. So is it different organizing an event in the US or in China or in Italy? And what are these differences, and how can someone handle the organization of the event in different countries?
Great question. And yes, there's definitely a big difference between organizing events in different places. And in fact, what we try to do with AWE and the large events we have in Europe, in Asia, in Tel Aviv, as well as the meetups that we have in various cities, we want to embrace that difference. We have different cultures, different approaches, different languages, of course. So getting it all together and on one hand, kind of enabling the grassroots development in each country, in each city, and then providing a way to globally connect everyone, I think can have a huge benefit for everyone in this field. In terms of tips for how to organize it, the secret is just to work with local people, people that understand the nature, the culture, the language. And then, even if you have like we have, with AWE, we have sort of a playbook of how to run our events. We encourage to customize it and to modify it for each location so that it really fits with that local community. And so far, it's been working great. I mean, just like you guys, in Italy, you're bringing so much of the Italian spirit to it. And we love it. We love to see it from the US. I see a lot of people from the US and other places logging into these events because, it's different. It has something that is reinvigorating. And again, when you bring it together on the global basis, that's when the big value comes out of this community.
That's amazing. So the time is finished. So just final question for you two is the same question that everyone has in mind is, how do you imagine that the VR and digital events or other kind of digital events in 10 years? So I know we all like making speculations. So let's start again for you, Louis. So what kind of events do you want to organize in 10 years?
Well, I would like to, I definitely would like to organize events that are physical, but where people can see things that don't exist, basically. So that are mixed reality events in the sense where people can be together, see each other, but also see other layers of reality that they have in real life, or vice versa, to be able to be in virtual events, but feel like they're so close to the physical people in physical venues that they can literally directly interact with them. So really crush the barriers between physical and virtual.
That's all we hope for. What about you, Ori? How it will be AWE in 10 years?
Like I said, I think we'll be living on the spectrum. You know, we'll move from being in the virtual world to reality, back and forth. We'll rip the benefits of each approach. We'll do the crazy things that we cannot do in real life in VR. And sometimes, you know, we'll be in between with AR, so we can, you know, still be engaged with the real world around us, but get some of the cool things of digital information overlaid on it. And sometimes we'll just completely disconnect and just meet each other like we've always done. I think, like we said before, the physical events are not going away. We still need this thing. It's just a human need that will always be there. So I think, again, we can get the best of both worlds if we do it right.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, too. So we know that we're all going to be to AWE next month in November. We're already talking about hugging because we all love digital virtual events, but the physical contact is still something that we're not able to recreate in virtuality in that way that, you know, hugging someone can give you emotions and sensations that they're not there in VR yet. Maybe in the future, who knows, in 20 years, let's hope so we can also hug people distant from us. But I get a few, probably the spectrum, everyone can choose what kind of events to organize depending on the purpose, the people who want to attend, the budget, etc. And I think with these amazing insights, we are done with this AWE Nite Florence event. So I thank everyone and invite you to meet all of us at AWE US in November, since now the travel restrictions are over. Thanks for being here to all of everyone. And I leave the microphone to Cecilia for the final statement.
Thank you, Ori. Thank you, Luis. Thank you, Mariangela. Thank you, Anthony. AWE USA 2021 taking place in Santa Clara, California, November 9th and 11th, primarily as in a person conference and also with an online element. See you there.